So I'm going to be doing the final testing protocol on this blue DSi XL. Shell serial number WW416951354. Now I was getting my online documentation up for this console, but it looks like I neglected to gather that. So I'll have to sort of piece it together as I go. So we'll look at my notes that I have here. Battery life 4 hours 20 minutes. Has a brand new digitizer. Fails to read one game. Pampered pet. So since I did that testing protocol, I have since added a whole bunch more shovelware games that I'll be testing with. So we'll just see how that stacks up. That's a new digitizer. I usually don't like testing it until I get a touchscreen or an actual screen protector on. Which really I shouldn't be doing this until I put a screen protector on. So I suppose that will be the first thing I do. Make sure that bottom screen is nice and as clean as humanly possible. Grab some screen protectors. Small one is the bottom screen, so it's the bottom. Yeah, that one looked like it went on pretty good. Went on a little crooked, but I don't expect people to be hugging the bezel while playing games. At least I don't think I do. Plus, these screen protectors aren't big enough to span the entire screen. usually put these screen protectors on before I get to the final testing, but I forgot. Trying to change up my testing protocol to catch some very persistent issues. Well, I may have nailed that. That's a pretty obnoxious bubble I let by, but it's squeezing out. I never liked that I could always get these top screen ones on very good, but the bottom screen ones can always go on a little wonky. I think it's because I'm not trying to put it within a bezel. It's more free-floating. Look at that. That's pretty. And then this little microfiber cloth that came with the screen protectors will just go with it. It'll just kind of serve as a protector for transport and cleaning, I suppose. Anyway, I can finally move on with this. So what I first want to do is open it up and get the motherboard serial number just so I can add that to my digital records. And I can also begin filling out the paperwork for it. Okay, let me grab this motherboard serial number. U0142 negative A30. 2C. That's this one right here. And I have it jotted down as no known issues, which my 2 rounds of testing would also confirm. So what I'm going to do is put a little piece of capped on tape, non-conductive tape, over the connector for the digitizer and the bottom screen backlight. No real scientific reason to do that, but Nintendo sold these consoles with little pieces of tape on those connectors. Stands to reason that they found it important enough to include. Just kind of like that. Nothing really scientific there, just to keep those connectors down. I can put this back together. Make sure all those clips are in. It's usually a step I forget, but it's rather benign. Silver screw does not go in there. It's the same screw size, just different color. Silver screws go under the screw protectors. Or the, not screw protectors, but the feet. And then it's a little more aesthetically pleasing to have black screws for the exposed screws, which are going to be these two posts flanking the card slot, as well as the very tiny screw that's in the card slot. Alright, so let me get the written paperwork going. And by written, I mean just this sheet that I fill out. Pencil, here we are. Unit color, blue. Technically midnight blue. There's only one blue color scheme. Shell WW416951354. Software version, I don't know that yet. Motherboard serial 285060112 U0142SC negative 830. Battery life I have on this as 4 hours and 20 minutes. Let me grab the the software version. That's the term I'm looking for. Just in settings. 1.4.5U. It is fully updated. It really doesn't matter, but I don't update these consoles. This is just the motherboard was updated. So we're going to start going through the battery of tests. So the first one is, this will be this section down here. First one is motherboard and power board. So this would be, does the console turn on? Does it reach the main menu? Does it have any problems opening apps? Which it doesn't. I'm just quickly checking to see if there's any pieces of dust or debris underneath the digitizer or the top screen lens that impedes any of the pixels. I don't see any. Let me note any screen color too. I think these screens match very well, actually. I'll go more into detail on that later. So it reaches the main menu, and we opened up settings, so that means that it does pass. Tactile buttons. So this will be testing out all the face buttons and the shoulder buttons. I have an R4 card. Well, let me actually grab it, or just one of these generic R4 cards. I have a piece of diagnostic software that I can run called Diagnose. The screen feels so much better with a screen protector on. It's not even funny. So what I'm going to do is just press the face buttons a few dozen times and just see if the rhythm of me pressing them matches up with the little light that's popping on. The actual face buttons, A, B, Y, X, Start, Select, almost are never an issue. Only if your board has pretty good liquid damage on it that I would worry about them, but usually they're pretty good. D-pad can be another issue, but that can be because I mix my power boards. The little power daughter board, which has the D-pad on it, that was that separate daughter board, or the separate PCB. I mix those power boards in because I don't actually keep them with the main motherboard because the power boards are really simple. And then I'm going to check the shoulder buttons, which tend to be problems. But these shoulder buttons are good. Okay, so that one passes. Next is touchscreen, which I'm just gonna run the touchscreen calibrator one more time. Pretty sure I've done this before. Because this is a new digitizer. Pretty sure I've already done this, but just to double check. I have another piece of software that can basically turn the entire bottom screen into a drawing pad, which is exactly what I'm looking for. So now I'm going to just be going around the edges of the screen. It's going to be kind of hard because I'll be hitting the edges of the screen protector. But basically what I'm looking for is any erroneous input. Oops. And there kind of is around like the actual edges of the display, but what I'm looking for specifically is if a touchscreen is damaged in any way. An erroneous input would look like if you're going down, if you do a draw line down, just hugging the bezel, if your inputs were to go and then just bulge out. Ooh, R4 card froze. I'll get to that in a little bit. Let me go back to the touchscreen. So if the touchscreen was damaged at all, instead of just drawing a straight line down, if you were to hug the bezel, you'd be going down and then there'd just be this big blob and nothing within here would register. Just any register points would be just in this area, and this point would just be dead. Which you just have to replace the digitizer at that point. I did have one digitizer, it actually was a new one, where I would draw down, it'd go to about right here, and then it would fire an input somewhere over here, and then continue the draw along the edge. So that was a bit of a strange issue, but faulty nonetheless. I had to throw it away. But after doing borders, I'll just swirl. And it's registering the whole time. So that touchscreen's good. Next I'll be testing is speaker, microphone, and headphone jack. So I'm going to combo this with an SD card check. I have an SD card with a song on it. So I'll go in the DSI sounds. And then just for the microphone test, la 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 la. It was able to record my voice. So I would say that's good enough. You can also see the waveform going as I'm speaking. Let me grab a set of earbuds. So I guess before I get too far ahead, it's reading the SD card and it sees the song on it, so SD card slot's good as far as I can tell. That's usually the only test I do for the SD card slot because I don't expect that to experience much mechanical stress, so it either works or it doesn't. That is completely different from the game card slot, which is kind of expected to have multiple games going in and out of it. So I'm going to check both speakers. And then I'm going to plug in the headphones and check both channels. Both channels work. So all the sound systems work. Remove the SD card so I don't leave it in there. Next is cameras. Now, the microphone and the cameras I both test before I put this console together, because I really don't want to put this console completely together only to have one of those two components faulty, because then I would have to take the whole console back apart, which is kind of a pain. So to bypass the tutorial, press one of the shoulder buttons. There's my phone I'm using as my camera. Switch. Both cameras work. Charge port. Let me grab my charger here. So I have a little USB tester. Get this Leaning Tower of Pisa out of the way. This will tell me if the console is actually pulling anything when it charges. So I have my USB to, I don't know what you would call this port, USB to DSI. So what I'm going to check is just simply seating it like normal. Solid orange light. It's pulling 0.1 amps. And then I'm just going to rotate the charge end just kind of in a circle to see if that little orange light turns off at all. Flickers off even for a second, which it isn't. That means all the solder joints are good inside that charge port and a couple downstream components. Unplug it. I'm going to open it up. And then I'm just going to look at the little charger indicator as I try and blindly plug this in. Charge indicator turns on, still pulling 0.1 of an amp, so it is charging as expected. Let's get this out of the way. Now there is a couple more tests that I've been sort of developing in response to a couple problems that have cropped up with consoles that I've sold. One will be sleep. So I'm going to take one of my little neodymium magnets and plop it right there. The Wi-Fi light dims. The power light is breathing, I guess, sort of going in and out. I've had a console recently where it wouldn't go into sleep and the screens were just flickering erratically. Just something I've never seen before, but it was mostly, from what I could determine, just cold solder joints on the little component that the magnet's on top of that controls sleep, which is by magnets. So it's the magnet in this speaker that actually triggers the console to go into sleep. You can also just use a magnet. Another is screen image retention. So that would be me sitting on this screen for about a minute and a half to 2 minutes and seeing if any of these checkerboard elements appear in the settings menu. While I kind of wait for that, I'll grab screw covers. I have quite a few for the blue console. The little double-sided sticker that Nintendo puts on can be a very good sticker. There we go. So all I do to put on these screw covers is I take a little bit of Elmer's glue. And then when I mean a little, I mean squeeze it enough so that glue comes out, but I never actually put on a drop. So squeeze it just so a little bit of glue starts coming out. And then I just touch the top of these screws. That leaves just a tiny bit. So then when I put on these screw protectors, hopefully some of them I may have added a little too much on a couple of these, but I can take them off, or I can sort of sop up the ones that have too much if it like squeezes out. Then a combination of a plastic pry tool and my tweezers, I get these into place. That one I accidentally put upside down, so I got a little bit of glue on it. Now why exactly I'm doing this before verifying that the screens don't have image retention is mainly because I've already done that test before. This is just a triple check. And if I had to remove the top screen, removing these little fellers isn't the most difficult. A little annoying, but not impossible. This one I think I added way too much. See, it kind of squeezed out a little. Okay, so then I'll go over to the settings app real quick. And then I'm looking to see if any of those, if any of the elements were like very clearly brought over, which they weren't. The image retention, the two image retention screens that I've seen, I have a top and a bottom screen. It is like this gray background would be the checkerboard. Like it is pretty like outrageous how much it is. I maybe kind of see it a little on the bottom screen. Like you can kind of tell that like maybe these little rows are a little like lighter, but from what I understand, that's fairly benign. It's not that bad. But it could be the sign that the screens are like in the very early stages. Like you can tell as I'm soft resetting it, you can see the DSI sounds elements in the background. But to my current understanding, that doesn't matter. Like this could be the beginning signs of the screen failing, but if these consoles came out in 2007, 2008, if it's only starting to show signs of failing in nearly 20 years, that tells me that it could have another 20 years before it gets worse. That's based on nothing, but for right now, this screen is not in the advanced stages of image retention to the point to where it should last a while. I can't exactly do a long-term study on that because that's very impractical. But for now, it's good. Should last for a while before that gets any worse. If it gets any worse, I can't say. So I'm going to put the remaining screw covers on. So because these are the feet, I put a little more glue on. That glob up there might be a little too much. But these feet do experience some mechanical stress, as in, like, you're actually placing the console down on them. Whereas the top screen screw protectors are just pretty much there for just to hide the silver of the screws, make it look cleaner. Where these serve more of a practical purpose. I put this one upside down so it grabbed a little bit of the glue. I didn't intentionally put it upside down, it just decided to spin around. Sop up that extra glue. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of water just to wipe off the top of these top screen screw covers. A little bit of distilled water. And then I'll do the same around these little feet. Okay, so now I'm ready to do game card slot. It's game card and SD slot. So I've already shown that they both work. Or not that they both work. The SD card works. Let's wipe up the remains of that distilled water because it doesn't dry as quickly as rubbing alcohol, but it also doesn't harm the paint. So for the game card slot, I'm going to take this rather ominous pile of shovelware games. So let's start out with this Pampered Pets. I'll insert it like normal. Just click it in and let go. Reads it immediately. So then I'll put a little bit of pressure on it and then just shift it side to side. I would say the amount of pressure I'm putting onto it is maybe like about a quarter of it would take until you would trigger the mechanism. It's rough estimate. It's all just based on feel. And I'm basically looking for if the card disappears. And I'll kind of alternate my pressure. I think I can try going up to about 50% or maybe even 100. Like I just clicked it in, so it'll click out, disappears, click it back in. So it reads it that whole time. It should theoretically, just kind of based on my observations, where the game card is right now, it's locked in. It should read the game all the way in and until out to the point to where it would usually lock. And then beyond that, of course, it's out of the game card slot. It should read it that entire travel. So it's good there. And then I'm just going to give it a few good whacks on my open palm. And basically what that's looking for is if that game card slot disappears. It also tests out the battery. That was unfortunate. It tests out the battery just to make sure that it's secure and it's making good contact. So that if you were to accidentally bump your console while playing it, your console won't shut off. Accidentally knocked over my leaning tower. So that game is in the pass. I'm just going to go down and do the exact same with all these game cards. A lot of these game cards I'm adding to the testing rotation. So I'm not going to say that they are going to give false positives, but they are sort of unproven. But as sort of a variety of games go, it should prove to be a good sample of real-world game cards, some in better shape than others. So this one, Crafting Moment, I'm pretty sure is my best shape card. Should read it the whole time. I clicked in the mechanism. It did disappear there for a second. I'm just going to run that again. Putting pressure on the game card, shifting it side to side, kind of pushing in harder, backing off a little, pushing in really hard until I fully click in the mechanism, pushing in the game card as far as it will go. Clip out, click it back in. Okay, it's not disappearing. That may have been an anomaly. I can't repeat it. Okay, so now... Good. Another Pampered Pets. Now, as to why it froze on my R4 card, R4 cards are a little strange, as they can tend to be different. The PCBs and maybe just the slot itself can be different thicknesses. They also don't have the little guide plastic piece as part of their shell, where OEM carts have these little plastic ridges that will help guide the pins. So I've noticed that even though retail carts work fine, sometimes some R4 cards might have a problem reading. Okay, that one disappeared at about the same point Crafting Mama did. So I'm just gonna pressing down, click the mechanism, pop out, clip in. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, so I'm getting that to disappear. That was interesting. When it reread the card, it almost read it as almost a blank, so I'm going to put that in a fail pile. Okay, cards out, cards back in. Cards out, cards back in. Okay, pass. Try the hamster game. And I would say this is fairly extreme testing that I'm doing. I have the card pushed in all the way and it disappeared. I know, if I remember correctly, this card is in pretty rough shape. Pushing it in all the way again. Oh, appeared. Okay, pulling it back out. Cards out, cards back in. Shifting it all the way up. Yeah, when I push the card in all the way, it'll vanish there for a second. I'm going to say that's fine. I can't get it. Oh. May have spoke too soon. if the card only vanishes when it's fully pressed in, you're ideally not pushing the game card in all the way. But I am able to get it to disappear just by light pressure. Not able to get it to disappear there, but I am going to fail it. Try this one. I think this one's also in pretty bad shape. Okay, seems to be good. Good. Jumbo Safari by Sega. Card out, card back in. Card out, card back in. Good. This game, I think it's a Go Diego Go game. Sure is. By 2K Play. Never heard of them, unless it's the same 2K studio. Good old shovelware. Pass. Hamster Life. Card out, card back in. Card out, card back in. Did disappear there for a second. I'm going to probe that a little more. Nope, I can't seem to repeat it, so that was, it disappeared when I had the card in pressed all the way. Like, I bottomed out the card. I'll do it one more time, but I can't seem to repeat it. Again, if you have the card pressed in all the way, that's a problem. I couldn't repeat it, and given the extreme that I had to make it disappear just at once, I'm not going to worry about it. Horses. Card out, card back in. Card out, card back in. Okay. Good. Wonder Pets. Oh. I have it bottomed out right now, so I have the card pressed in as far as it will go. I am able to get it to disappear. Card out, card back in. I'm going to do light pressure. Good. Good. About 50% pressure. Click the mechanism. I'm bottoming out the card. Okay. Card out, card in. Vanished. So that is a fail. 10 dogs. Card out, card back in. Oops. Card out, card back in. Good. Harry Potter. Card out, card back in. Card out, card back in. Card out, card back in. Pass. Another Harry Potter. Card out, card back in. Card out, card back in. Card out, card back in. Pass. Card out, card back in. Card out, card back in. Dog Whisperer. Card out, card back in. Card out, card back in. Card out, card back in. Last one. Build-A-Bear. Card out, card back in. Card out, card back in. Card out, card back in. Okay, so let me just kind of recap. So these cards passed. Quite the pile I got going on here. And then these cards failed. So what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16, 17, 18, 19. So a 3 and 19 failure rate. Whatever percentage that would end up being. You know what? Curiosity waits for no one. Is that 15% failure rate? So 85% success rate when it comes to reading cards. So let me just try these 3 again. Okay, putting pressure about 50%. Fully bottoming out the card. Eject. Back in. Interestingly. Oh, there it goes again. So it's when I'm bottoming the card out in the game card slot and shift it over to the side. So it's like, it's me putting quite a load of pressure on it. And then when I back out just a little bit, it comes back. It's not disappearing when I hit. Bejeweled 3 was, though. Let me go in again. Oh, yeah, Bejeweled 3 seems to be the one to beat. Card out, card in. Light pressure. Somewhere along there is vanishing. Oh. So Bejeweled 3 is the one I need to get really satisfied. Here's the hamster game. Card out, card in. Card out, card in. Yeah, bottoming out the card again will cause it to disappear. Similar to Wonder Pets. So I have it fully pressed in. Okay, doesn't disappear. So Bejeweled 3 is the one that's having the most issues in this console. Let me just put in my R4 cards. This is going to be a little strange, but... So my R4... This is the one that froze on us when we were doing the touchscreen test. Just going to push it in all the way. I can't really shift this card side to side because it's actually sitting in that... Didn't mean to do that. It sits in the game card slot pretty tight, but I was able to get it to disappear that once. Oh, there it goes. It's out in... Pressing it in, I can't really shift it side to side. When I bring it out, okay, so it's disappearing beyond the point to where it would clip in. Pushing it in, bottomed out, backing out a little. Okay, I can't get it to disappear. Then we have my ace card, which will... It's actually having no problems at all. Let me go back to my normal R4 card and hit it. Well, it's not going away now, so... This is why I'm throwing a giant stack of game cards at it, because it can be very inconsistent or a bit of a pain. So let me put just a round of cleaning on the game cards pins again. I'll do it with Bejeweled 3 to try and see if it's just Bejeweled 3 that's having problems. So what I do is just wet the game card pins, and then just take it in and out of the game card slot. Let me put a little more rubbing alcohol on it. I kind of tap it off. I kind of want it to be a little wet when I put it in. That's what she said. This is 91% rubbing alcohol, so it'll dry pretty quickly. While I wait for that to dry, I'm going to wipe the exterior of this console with some distilled water. I'm just going to syringe it onto my microfiber cloth. Just to get all my disgusting hand oils off of it. Gorgeous. Let me put on a pair of gloves so I don't sort of fight myself. And I need to grab a stylus for this as well. So it looks good. Ooh, it's in there pretty hard. grab one of the new third-party ones. It fits in there a lot nicer, easier to get out. Okay, so let's try those game cards again. Mainly just Bejeweled. So if it's only Bejeweled that I officially fail, then I would say 18 out of 19 cards without any issues is pretty good. I'm bottoming out the card again and it does disappear, but we're talking about fairly extreme scenarios. Whoops, press the shoulder button. Wonder Pets. Disappearing when I bottom out again. Well, let me do the palm test. Bejeweled 3. Looking at it, there's like a little white thing on one of the pins. I think it was just a piece of paper towel or something. Maybe it was a chunk that I got stuck on the... Doesn't matter. So, light pressure, shaking it down about halfway. Just click the mechanism. Discard, come back in. Okay, that seems to be good. Ah, shoulder button again. Can't seem to get it to disappear, so that's good. Let me grab my... So with the exception of the extreme cases, which... If your game card disconnects because you press it in all the way into the game card slot, you're kind of at a point of no return. Which is the game card will pop out and, well, it'll disconnect regardless. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. Considering it was at the very bottom of my press that it actually vanished. So the only test I have remaining is the Wi-Fi, which I've never had a console fail. I also have to connect it via a hotspot on my phone, which I'm currently using as a camera. So I'm just going to have to do that later when I'm not using my phone as a camera. But I've never had a console fail. I'm not worried about it. I just verify that it can connect to an access point and not beyond that. So now we actually get to the fun part, the actual scoring. So let me check. New Digi. I also am fairly positive this is the one that I put a new lens in. I neglected to write that down. I don't know why. I just need to verify this completely. I did a lot of blue consoles recently, so they're all getting a little crossed in my head. 5-4. This one. Yeah, this is the one with the new lens. Okay, that's what I thought. Alright, so the physical condition of the shell, that's just the entire shell, the entire housing, just kind of looking for any imperfections there. Start with the top. There should be, very obviously, there's some imperfections, just scratching. There's a couple, I think there's chips right here. That's those two little dots. Those are actual chips. There's a good scratch right there. There's kind of wear around this upper part of the housing. This is glossy. It happens. This is just from normal wear. The chipping is a little more extreme, but other than that, this glossy piece is not horrible. Trying to get my light over it, you can tell it's actually not that bad. There's that one mark, and then like I was kind of pointing out, there's this border around and the two chips. The hinge has some interesting discoloring. Not really sure what that's for, where that's from. Some minor discoloring. My camera wants to focus. Looking around. Definitely this hinge piece has seen a lot of wear. Back shell, there's a mark right next to the charge port. Not really sure why. Ew. Have some crud in the shoulder buttons I can try and get out. I do hand wash all these shells, but there's only so much I can do. But I do what I can. Okay, moving on. We have marks along the edges of the shell. A little bit of wear right here. This face looks pretty good. A mark above the volume button. And then on the actual rear of the shell, there's this red mark here. I'm not really sure how that got there, but it doesn't come off without some, like, I don't want to put too much effort into trying to take it off. Just removing a little bit of excess Elmer's glue. So now to the face of the shell, which I did try removing this mark. There's sort of, I'm not entirely sure what that is. You can kind of vaguely see it. There's a little mark underneath the screw cover. Just some lines there, some impressions. Ignore the dust. And then around the face buttons, you can see around the D-pad, there's a little bit of wear just from use. Just a finger rubbing across it. A little bit of markings around this bezel. Some discoloration above the touchscreen. So it's a lot of little things, not really anything major, but it is a lot of little things. So I think because of that, I'm going to give it a good, a 1 out of 3. Just a sort of, just a lot of little marks. Everywhere. Physical condition of the hardware, those are all the buttons. When I'm putting these consoles together, I usually match the shoulder buttons to the condition of the shell. So L button's okay. R button has just a little nick in it. Hardware also includes screw covers, which that one's not perfect. Does the job. Those look pretty good. The buttons themselves are also really good. And the rear feet, I might need to get a little more glue off of this one. I sort of goobered on quite a bit of glue. So because there are imperfections, I'll do very good, not bad. Say R button mark. Then top left screw cover. Physical condition of the screens are like the actual, like the digitizer, the lens. Both are brand new. Let me look at them again. Like they're not flawless because of just as part of the installation process. Also, third-party lenses tend to be a little annoying. Like this one had a bunch of just like soap scum on it. So just in the process of me cleaning off that soap scum, it left a line. That was just me trying to clean it off. Just left the equivalent of like a smear. And there's also a little bit on this top corner. I did the best I could. You can't see it when the console's on, so that's sort of the metric I'm going off of. Both are new though. Do I? I think I can give it an excellent because of that, because there are no visible scratching. It's just that smear and then just a little bit on the corner. Top screen. Small smears. And the bottom screen's flawless. Screen condition is the actual like LCD displays. I'm basically going to be looking for how they match, if there's any yellowing, any other conditions that I'm aware of. So I turned off my overhead light so I can see better. Yeah, these screens, they match real good. They look amazing. I have no problem. I'll give that an excellent. So for my score that I'll give it, 3.6. Give it a straight 9, which is right in the center of very good. Cool. So now this one is good to go. I'm going to do the other condition assessment video, or the score justification, just basically just going over everything I just did. So cool. I'm glad that guy passed.